like and subscribe for more. New York used to be a 24-hour machine, blinking neon, blaring sirens, and people packed shoulder to shoulder, even at 3 a.m. But not anymore. Not since the sirens changed. Now, when the sun dips below the skyline and the air turns thick, a voice crackles over the emergency alert system like clockwork. This is a mandatory statewide alert. Curfew, in effect. All citizens must remain indoors from dusk until dawn. Do not go outside. Repeat, do not go outside. They don't explain why. They never did. The first time it happened, the city fell into chaos. People ignored the warnings. They thought it was just martial law or a test, or maybe another pandemic-style lockdown. But the people who went out that night never came back. I don't mean they disappeared. I mean they screamed. Long, awful wails that echoed between the buildings, bouncing off alleyways, clawing their way up high-rise windows. And then silence, the kind that sinks into your bones. After that, we listened. I've lived here my whole life. Born in Queens, raised in Brooklyn, working nights in Manhattan until the rule. My apartment's on the 12th floor of a mid-rise in Hell's Kitchen. Every window is blacked out, doors triple locked. I don't even keep clocks that tick anymore. Quiet is safer. But last night, I messed up. It was just a moment. I lost track of time. My phone died while I was walking home from the bodega. No alerts, no warning. Just that feeling, the way the light shifted, like someone flipping a dimmer on the whole world. The air went still. The streets, once alive with honks and shouts, turned hollow. Then the alert came. Dusk protocol engaged. Seek shelter immediately. Do not remain outside. I was 4 blocks from home. I ran. I didn't look back. Not until I heard something. It wasn't footsteps. It wasn't voices. It was scraping, like bare feet dragging across concrete. Slow, purposeful, and then a wet sound, like someone slapping raw meat on the pavement. I ducked into a stairwell, holding my breath as I heard it pass. Whatever it wasn't human. The shadows moved wrong, slithering across the sidewalk like spilled ink. I saw a hand, no, not a hand. Too long, too many joints. It tapped its fingers against a streetlight pole, slow and steady, like it was thinking, like it could smell me. Then it laughed, soft, whispery. A child's giggle warped through static. I didn't move until dawn, not a twitch. Now I'm back home safe, but I can still hear that laugh in my head. And the worst part? There's a handprint on my front door. It wasn't there before. I didn't sleep last night. I just sat in the hallway all night, staring at the handprint on the door. It was smudged, like someone, or something, pressed its palm against the wood with too much strength, too much hunger. When the emergency alert finally clicked off at dawn, my phone buzzed with the familiar mechanical voice. Curfew lifted. Safe hours resumed. Citizens may resume activity. Stay alert. Follow the rule. Sunlight poured through the edges of the blackout curtains like it always does. And just like that, the city came back to life. Doors unlocked. Cars started. The sound of heels clicking on pavement returned, like nothing ever happened. Except I remembered. Downstairs, Mrs. DeLuca from 14C was sweeping her stoop. Mr. Vega was walking his 3-legged pug. A delivery guy was already swearing about parking tickets. Normal. So normal it felt fake. I leaned out my window and shouted, "Did anyone hear anything last night?" They all looked up at me. Blank faces. Mrs. DeLuca squinted. "No, dear. Everything was quiet. Why?" I paused. I saw something. That's when Mr. Vega spoke. His voice flat. "You weren't outside, were you?" I didn't answer. Didn't need to. People started to gather around. Not a mob, just a few curious faces. Most of them looked concerned. Some didn't. "You break curfew?" A guy from across the street asked. I didn't know him. Never saw him before. He was smiling too much. "I didn't mean to," I said. Silence. Then a woman behind him whispered, "You shouldn't talk about what you saw." "What? Why not?" I asked. "There's something out there. We should be warning people." She looked around nervously, then stepped closer to him, like shielding herself from me. "They don't like it when you talk about them," she whispered. Before I could ask who they were, I saw something that made my stomach turn. The man across the street, the smiling one, lifted his hand to wipe sweat off his forehead, and I saw it, his palm. 5 fingers, each jointed too many times, the same shape as the print on my door. I blinked and it looked normal again. Just a hand, flesh and bone, smiling, waving. He called up to me. "Careful, friend. You're not the only one who broke the rule last night." Then he winked. No one else reacted. Now it's 3:47 p.m., sunlight still safe. But the shadows outside my window are growing longer. And I think I just heard that laugh again. From inside the building, the laughter stopped when I opened my front door. I don't know what I expected. Blood, claw marks. Maybe that thing standing in my hallway with a smile stitched across its face, but there was nothing. Just silence, the kind that rings in your ears. Still, I left the handprint. I didn't wipe it off. I needed proof. I needed to know I hadn't imagined the whole night. But by noon it was gone. Just gone. Like it never happened. Like the wood had healed itself. The people in my building still won't talk. They avoid eye contact. Conversations stop when I enter a room. Even the maintenance guy, Joe, wouldn't answer when I asked if the hallway cameras were working. "They've been out for weeks," he muttered. Liar. I went to the corner store to clear my head. Needed something normal. Coke, a bag of chips, human faces. The guy behind the counter, Naveen, is usually talkative. We argue about basketball every other day. Today, he barely glanced up from his phone. "You shouldn't have been out," he said. I froze mid-reach for the fridge. "You know?" He didn't look at me. "We all know, but we don't say anything. That's part of the deal." "What deal?" I snapped. "What the hell is going on in this city?" He finally looked up. His eyes were bloodshot, tired, scared. "They don't just come out at night anymore. Not since people started breaking the rule." I leaned in. "You're telling me those things, the ones outside, what, they're spreading?" Naveen hesitated. Then very quietly he said, "They hide in people. Watch, wait, it's how they learn." I thought of the man across the street. The smile, the two long fingers that vanished when I blinked. "Can they look like us?" I asked. Naveen didn't answer. He just rang up my items and handed me the bag without another word. When I got back to my apartment, something was wrong. The smell hit me first, sweet and rotting, like spoiled meat mixed with cheap perfume. And then I saw it. A note slid under my door. No name, no handwriting, just one line. "You're not supposed to remember. It's almost dusk now." The city is already going quiet again. People scurry indoors, doors slam, blinds shut. And I swear, someone's standing in the hallway. Not knocking, not moving, just standing, waiting. I stared through the peephole for 10 minutes. Whoever or whatever was in the hallway didn't move. I couldn't make out a face. Just a silhouette, perfectly still, as if it were part of the wallpaper. Human in shape, but wrong, slightly off, like a mannequin molded by someone who had only heard what people looked like. I didn't breathe until the emergency alert blared. Dusk protocol engaged. Remain indoors. Avoid windows. Do not engage with any individuals outside your residence. I blinked. The hallway was empty. They don't always knock. Sometimes they just wait. They watch through the keyholes, the cracks in the walls, the soft spots in your memory. And if you see them, really see them, they know. And they don't forget. I shoved a chair against the door and pulled the blackout curtains tighter. Then I took the note I found earlier and stared at it again. "You're not supposed to remember." The paper smelled like metal. Blood, maybe. And there was a smear of something dark across the back. A thumbprint, maybe. I turned on every light in the apartment. Then, around 10 p.m., my phone buzzed. No caller ID. I shouldn't have answered. I did anyway. A voice whispered, "You need to get to the 7th floor. East stairwell, now." Then the line went dead. The building only has 6 floors. I stared at the phone, heart thundering. A trap, it had to be. But something about the voice, it wasn't like the ones from the things outside. It was human, panicked, real, and I couldn't ignore it. So I did the dumbest thing I've done since this all started. I grabbed a flashlight, opened the door slowly, and slipped into the hallway. It was darker than it should have been. The overhead lights flickered, casting long, pulsing shadows across the floor. Everything smelled damp. I crept to the stairwell, each step creaking beneath my weight. Up past floor 4, 5, 6. And then, another door. No label, no handle, just a smear of black paint across the middle. I pushed it open. It wasn't another floor. It was a room, windowless, lit by a single hanging bulb. And inside were 6 people huddled around a table, faces pale, eyes wide. One of them looked up and said, "You saw them, didn't you?" I nodded. Another added, "You're one of us now." Us? The ones who remember. Before I could ask what that meant, the bulb overhead flickered. Then all 6 of them looked toward the door at the same time. "It followed you." The bulb overhead flickered once, twice, then went out. Pitch black. No sound, no breathing, no heartbeat, just that thick, pressing silence that only exists when something else is listening. I fumbled for my flashlight, hands slick with sweat, thumb hitting the button over and over. The beam finally clicked on, too weak, too late. Everyone around the table was gone. I spun in a slow circle, empty chairs, scattered papers, coffee cups still steaming, but no people, like they'd been plucked out of time. The only thing left was a message scrawled on the wall behind them, in something dark and dripping. "If you see it, don't look away." My flashlight trembled in my hand. I backed toward the door, the one with no handle, and reached for where it should have been. It wasn't there, just smooth wall. I ran my palms across it. No seam, no hinge, no frame. The door was gone. That's when I heard it. A soft clicking sound, like long nails tapping slowly on glass. Steady, precise, growing louder, closer. I turned around, and it was there. Not a monster, not a demon. It looked like me. Same jacket, same sneakers, same terrified expression. But its face didn't move when it blinked. And its smile was too wide, skin stretching like wet paper. It tilted its head and whispered, "You're not supposed to be here." I bolted. There was no logic to how I got out. I ran toward a corner, and the next second, I was slamming back into the stairwell, door cracking off the wall behind me. I nearly fell down the stairs in my panic, hitting every step on the way back to my floor. When I burst into my apartment, I slammed the door and locked it. Once, twice, 3 times. And then I saw my TV was on. I hadn't turned it on. The screen was static, no sound, until the image started to form. My street, my building, my apartment window. The view moved closer, closer, until it was right outside my window. Then it cut to black. A moment later, the emergency alert buzzed again. Some of you saw it. You were warned. Do not look into its eyes. Do not speak to your reflection. Do not answer the door after midnight. I checked the time. 11:59 p.m. Then someone knocked. Once, twice, and then a voice said, in my voice, "Let me in, I forgot my key." Stopped after the 3rd time, but the voice didn't. It stayed just outside the door, calm and quiet, saying things only I should know. "Remember the scar on your right ankle? You got it jumping the fence at PS 113. I know your first dog's name, Buster. He died in the snow. You cried so hard you didn't go to school for 3 days." I backed away, phone in one hand, a kitchen knife in the other. I couldn't speak. I didn't dare, because it wasn't just mimicking me. It was me. A perfect echo with just enough delay to make my skin crawl. And its voice, my voice, was too clean, like it had been scrubbed of anything human. I should have stayed away from the door. Should have sat in the bathtub with the water running and the lights off like people do during hurricanes. But I didn't. I peeked. The peephole was fogged, like something had breathed directly onto it. Through the blur, I saw an eye. Not blinking, not bloodshot, just a smooth black surface like obsidian. Then the voice on the other side said something I didn't recognize. Not a memory, not a thought. "Something wrong," it whispered. "You already let me in. You just haven't noticed yet." That's when the TV turned on again. No remote, no touch. And on the screen, I saw myself. Inside my own apartment. But I wasn't holding a knife. I was smiling. The other me walked calmly through the living room, staring at the camera, no, staring at me, and stopped at my front door. I whipped around. The room was empty. I turned back to the screen. The other me was now in the kitchen. Right where I was standing. The feed cut out. I dropped the knife. I don't know how long I stood there. Maybe a few seconds, maybe an hour. But I didn't move again until the emergency alert blared like a shotgun in my ear. Do not engage, do not respond, do not believe. Some versions of you are not you. Midnight is no longer safe. It's morning now, but something's off. People are talking again, but not to me. About me, like I'm not supposed to be here. And when I passed a mirror in the hallway, my reflection didn't blink. Something changed after midnight. I could sense it. It's not just the reflections anymore, or things trying to act like us. No, it's bigger, deeper, like the city itself is turning inside out. Today the sky looked wrong. The sunrise came 15 minutes too early, blood orange and thick, like light trying to push through a clogged throat. And the birds didn't sing, they screamed. Not loud, not constant, just one high, shrill cry every now and then, like a warning. I tried to forget about last night, tried to do something normal. I walked to Central Park around noon. There were people out, joggers, dog walkers, tourists, everyone pretending. The world wasn't cracking at the edges, but the trees were all facing the same direction. I know that sounds insane, but I swear, every branch bent just slightly west, like they were all being pulled by something invisible, something underground. That's when I noticed the cracks. Not in the sidewalk, not in the buildings, in the air, just these little shimmers, barely visible unless the sun hit them right. Like heat waves, but when I stepped too close to one, my ears popped, hard, like I'd crossed into a pressurized cabin, and I could hear something on the other side. Not voices, whispers in concrete. I turned back, fast. On my way home, I passed a group of sanitation workers in hazmat suits. Real official-looking types. No logos, just plain white trucks. They were dragging something out of a storm drain. Wrapped in black plastic, soaked through, I made eye contact with one of them. He just shook his head and said, "You didn't see this." I didn't argue. When I got back to my apartment, my floor smelled like iron, like rusted pipes and old pennies. I followed the scent to the stairwell and saw it. A chunk of concrete wall was missing, melted, not broken. Behind it was nothing. Just a hole that went straight down. No pipes, no wiring, just earth that pulsed like it was breathing and scratched into the wall above the hole. In jagged claw-like strokes were 6 words. "The city sits on its throat." What the hell does that mean? I'm writing this from my living room, all the lights on. I don't think this is about creatures pretending to be us anymore. I think New York is holding something in, and I think the nights aren't keeping us safe from what's outside. They're keeping what's underneath from getting out. I didn't sleep at all last night. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt it breathing beneath me. Not the wind, not vibrations from the subway. Something older, something that had been buried too deep for too long, and now it was shifting. Like it had rolled over in its sleep and brushed against the bottom of the city. At 3:22 a.m., I heard a low groan come from the pipes in my bathroom. Not water, not air. It sounded like a voice trying to push through steel. It said one word: soon. I'm not crazy. I'm not dreaming. I recorded it, played it back a dozen times. Each time, the voice came through louder, sharper, until the last playback didn't sound like a voice at all. It sounded like thousands of voices speaking in unison, all packed into a single word. I haven't left my apartment since then. People are starting to notice. The guy across the hall, Darren, knocked this morning. I didn't answer. He kept knocking. Not urgent, just steady, even, like he was waiting for something. Eventually, he slid a note under my door. "Do not go below ground. They feed through the tunnels." I almost dropped it. My building has a basement, a maintenance sub-level that connects to the old steam tunnels. I've never been down there, but I've felt it. The hum beneath the floorboards. Like the walls are hollow and full of teeth. At 10 a.m., an alert went out. Maintenance notice. Scheduled construction on lower metro lines. Residents may hear unusual noise. This is normal. Do not panic. That same hour, 5 separate subway lines were shut down with no explanation. People said they smelled something burning in the stations. Like sulfur, like hair. I checked Twitter. The hashtag below Manhattan was trending. Videos, photos, all blurry. Nothing stayed posted more than 5 minutes before it disappeared. One video showed a hole in the middle of a subway platform, like something had punched up through the concrete. The screen went black after 6 seconds. I think the city is trying to bury this. Not the government, not the police. The city itself. Buildings that look the other way. Streets that don't end where they used to. People who forget things too quickly. And somewhere beneath all of it, something is thirsty. They say New York never sleeps. But what they don't tell you is why. Because if this city does sleep, whatever it's holding down there might finally wake up. And then there won't be a sunrise. By now I've learned the signs. The windows sweat before it starts. Not fog, sweat. As if the building itself is nervous. The plumbing rattles, but not in rhythm. More like a shudder. A reaction. And the shadows. They stretch before the sun even sets. Tonight they started early, 6:43 p.m. I was eating cold rice out of the takeout box, scrolling through a dead phone, and trying to pretend I hadn't heard a voice call my name from the bathroom drain. Then the floor shook. Not a lot, just enough to knock my fork off the table. That's when the screaming started. Not from outside, not from the street, from the walls. It sounded like dozens of people muffled, buried deep in concrete, wailing, clawing. I backed into the hallway. The wallpaper on the east wall, ugly yellow stripes, was peeling back on its own. Not slowly, all at once. And beneath it, there were teeth. I'm not making this up. Hundreds of small, human-like teeth embedded in the brick, set in wide, grinning arcs, smiling through the paint. I turned to run, but the hallway had changed. The end was closer than it should have been. The lights were flickering in reverse, bright when I stood still, dark when I moved. I made it back into my apartment and slammed the door, and found a man standing in my kitchen, middle-aged, gray hoodie, dirt under his nails. He didn't look at me, just stared at the floor. He said, "They carved this city into its skin, built towers on its back, fed it people during rush hour, and it let them." He looked up. "But now it's hungry for more." "Who are you?" I asked. He blinked slowly. "You don't get to ask questions anymore. You remembered. That was your mistake." Then he vanished. Not in a puff of smoke, not into shadows. He stepped into the floor, like it swallowed him. Now the building won't stop creaking. The lights flicker even when they're off. There's a heartbeat in the walls. And the emergency alert system came back. This one didn't sound pre-recorded. It was a woman's voice. Terrified, rushed. "The foundations are fracturing. The rule isn't enough anymore. Do not trust. The ground. Stay above street level. The city is opening its mouth. I live on the second floor, and the floor is warm." I haven't stepped on the floor in hours. I've been sitting on the kitchen counter, knees to my chest, watching the linoleum breathe. It rises and falls like something underneath is trying to get comfortable, like a sleeper tossing in its sheets, and it's getting closer to waking up. I pushed a wooden spoon into one of the floor's cracks just to see. It didn't come back out. No resistance. Just a wet gulp sound, and then it was gone. I haven't heard from anyone in the building since the night started. The TVs don't work. Phones won't connect. Even the emergency alerts are quiet now. Too quiet. That terrifies me more than anything. Because if the city's not screaming, it means whatever was crawling up through the cracks doesn't need to be warned about anymore. It's already here. I keep thinking about what the man said last night. They carved this city into its skin. Maybe we weren't building on something. Maybe we were building into something. All the basements, the subways, the sewer lines, drilled into its bones like termites in a corpse. Maybe we dug too deep, or too wide. Or maybe we just forgot that some things are buried for a reason. I finally worked up the courage to look outside. The streets are wrong. They're not cracked or broken. They're missing. Pavement ripped up like dried skin. Buildings slanted like they're being pulled underground. And where the streets used to be, there's only red. Not fire, not lava. Veins. Thick, pulsing veins that run in long lines up Broadway. Down 5th, through every neighborhood like a giant circulatory map. And they're glowing. People are out there, walking toward the glow. Not running, not screaming, just moving, slowly, blank-faced, like they're being called. And I swear to God, I saw my mother. She's been dead for 7 years. But she looked up at my window and smiled. Her mouth opened, and she whispered, though I couldn't hear the sound. We were always meant to feed it. Now the lights are turning red. Not off red. The floor is cracking open in my living room. I can see something beneath the boards. Not dirt, not water. Something wet, alive, smiling. I think the city lied. It's not what's outside at night that's dangerous. It's the city itself. And it's starving. It blinked. The skyline, those jagged steel teeth of the city, closed and opened like an eye. The Empire State Building twitched. The Chrysler Building exhaled. And the sky peeled. It split down the middle, clouds tearing like fabric soaked in blood. And underneath it wasn't stars. It was more city. Not buildings. Not streets. Just endless layers of skin and bone and metal scaffolding fused with nerve endings. Like New York wasn't resting on something living. It was something living. We were its rash, its parasites, its infection. And now it's healing. The man with the stitched mouth dropped to his knees. His body convulsed, and then he began to sink into the roof like it was quicksand. I didn't help him. I couldn't. I was too busy staring at the skyline. As it blinked again, only this time it stayed open. And it looked right at me. Not metaphorically, not poetically. I mean, I felt the stare, direct, piercing, like the weight of 8 million. People all pressed behind one gaze. And it knew me. I don't know how. I think it remembers everyone who's ever walked its streets. Everyone who's ever lived above its lungs. Everyone who's ever ignored the rule. Don't go outside at night. That rule wasn't for our protection. It was for its digestion. A pause, a slow chew, a breath before the swallow. But now the night has no boundaries. The sky is wrong. The air is thick with something that tastes like copper and ozone and old secrets. And the emergency alert system came back. Just tones this time, no words. Until you were warned. You stayed. You fed it. Now you belong to the deep grid. I don't know what that is, but I can see it. Grids of light and bone, layered beneath the streets, beneath the buildings, beneath us, turning, waking, rearranging the city like puzzle pieces. I think I'm standing on its tongue now. I think it's almost done chewing. And I think the next blink will be its last. Because this time it won't open its eyes to look. It'll open them to feed. I tried to run, but there was nowhere left to go. The skyline blinked again, slower this time, tired, final. And I felt the city sigh. Not through the air, not through the ground, but through me, like I was part of its breath, its lungs, its decay. Below, the streets were folding in on themselves. Lampposts melted into bone. Windows blinked shut. The bridges pulled taut like ligaments and snapped into the water with a groan. The city wasn't dying. It was closing. It had fed. Above me, the sky cracked down its center, and something vast began to pour in. Not stars, not rain. Buildings, falling sideways from some other layer of this place. Upside-down towers, twisting and slotting into gaps like puzzle pieces, expanding the city's skeleton into forever. I understood then. There is no New York. There never was. We were living on the back of something that stretches across dimensions, a creature that builds itself from the minds and movements of millions, an organism made of traffic and concrete and grief. And now it no longer needed to pretend. My skin began to flake. My veins itched with static. The city had tasted me, known me, and now it was wearing me. I dropped to my knees as the final emergency alert screamed from every broken speaker and shattered phone. There is no outside. You are inside it now. Then everything blinked, not just the skyline, the whole world. And when it opened again, there was only city, forever.